This article comes from the website www.iamthewitness.com. The French Connection, BBC documentary proves Israeli army murdered Rachel Corrie. I don't know if many of you remember Rachel Corrie. She was a 25-year-old graduate student from Washington State that was in the Gaza Strip in the spring of 2003. And when she placed herself in front of a bulldozer operated by Israeli nationals, the heavy equipment operator just ran over her and murdered her. And the BBC has released a remarkable film about the killing of 3 international peace activists by the Israeli army in the occupied Gaza Strip. Documentary evidence provided in the film strongly suggests that the American Rachel Corrie and 2 British activists were murdered. The BBC documentary does not seem to be available on the internet, and this is a photo of Rachel Corrie from Washington State. This Australian library claims to have the video. If you go to the website, you can click on these videos here and see what you can see. In spring 2002, within a period of 7 weeks, 1 British and 1 American peace activists were killed by the Israeli army in Rafah, a Palestinian town at the southern end of the occupied Gaza Strip. A second Briton was shot in the head, leaving him brain dead. In 2 of the cases, the Israeli army is being blamed for murder. The third is considered attempted murder. An Israeli military bulldozer crushed a 23-year-old American peace activist, Rachel Corrie, who was the first to die on March 16th as she tried to prevent it from demolishing a Palestinian doctor's home. British photographer Tom Herndal, 22, was left brain dead after being shot in the head by an Israeli soldier on April 11th. British cameraman James Miller, 34, was shot by an Israeli sniper as he left the house with 2 other journalists on May 2nd. A recently released 50-minute hard-hitting program produced by the British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC, investigated the 3 killings and provides crucial video evidence. "That's murder," an Israeli soldier said after viewing footage from the film, "When killing is easy." When Killing is Easy was shown 4 times to a worldwide audience on the commercial BBC World Television Network on November 22nd and 23rd, some cable television viewers in the United States would have been able to view the program. The 3 international observers died or nearly died at the hands of the Israeli military between the middle of March and the first week of May. Herndal was shot in the head as he took a Palestinian toddler who had frozen on the Israeli fire into his arms. Today, Herndal is brain dead and is kept alive on life support equipment. Tom's father, Anthony, is a lawyer in the City of London. After 6 weeks of investigation, Herndal has come to the conclusion that the shooting of his son by Israeli forces is a case of attempted murder. If Tom dies, and that is a likelihood, then it will be murder, he said. Jocelyn Herndal wrote to The Guardian after an Israeli government check for about $12,000 sent to the Herndal family to pay for a fraction of the expenses incurred bounced. When the check finally arrived after 5 months of negotiations with the Herndal family, the Israeli government check was not honored by the Bank of Israel, Herndal wrote. Insufficient funds was the reason given. According to the evidence provided in Sweeney's film, the IDF report on the shooting of Herndal is completely wrong about where he was, what he was wearing, and what he was doing when an Israeli soldier shot him in the head. It is a mind-numbing task to understand the morality, to use the logic of the Israeli government, Herndal wrote. What hope do Palestinians have when such profound disregard and disrespect is shown to humanity, collectively and individually? Silence witnesses. The BBC film was produced by John Sweeney, whose article on the killings, Silence Witnesses, was published in The Independent, UK on October 30th. Making our film, When Killing is Easy, has been the most harrowing ordeal of my professional life, Sweeney wrote. But it is vital that it is evidential. And that is really tough when the Israeli government and the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, have refused to speak to us. Rachel Corrie, the first of the 3 to die, was using her body to defend the home of Dr. Samir Nasser Allah from an American-made bulldozer used by the Israeli army to demolish a home of Palestinians. And that American-made bulldozer was made by John Deere. Of course, John Deere Corporation Corporation is not to be held responsible for the irresponsible deployment of the equipment by the Israeli Defense Forces. Corrie was a member of the International Solidarity Movement, ISM. ISM members stand between the Israeli bulldozers and the homes that the IDF wants to flatten. Israeli bulldozers have razed thousands of Palestinian homes in the occupied Gaza Strip and the West Bank. The bulldozers are primarily made by the Illinois-based Caterpillar Company. Tom Dale, an ISM eyewitness, had a clear view of the incident. He, the driver, knew absolutely she was there. The bulldozer waited for a few seconds over her body and then reversed, leaving it scooped down so that if she had been under the bulldozer, it would have crushed her a second time. Only later, when it was much more clear of her body, did he raise the scoop. My back is broken, Rachel told Alice Corrie, a fellow IMS activist who was with her. An Israeli pathologist, Dr. Yehuda Hiss, noted that Rachel appeared to have been run over by the bulldozer. Sweeney wrote, Hiss found the cause of death to be pressure to the chest. Her shoulder blades had been crushed. Her spine was broken in 5 places and 6 ribs broken. Her face was apparently slashed by the bulldozer blade. The IDF produced a report that says Corrie was not run over by an engineering vehicle. It added, for good measure, Sweeney says that Corrie was hidden from the view of the vehicle's operator. The footage seen in the BBC film proves these statements to be false. The family of Rachel Corrie believes the IDF report to be a blatant fabrication, Sweeney wrote. The British cameraman James Miller was shot dead by an Israeli sniper as he left a house in Rafah with 2 other journalists on the night of May 2nd. An Associated Press TV, APTN, cameraman filmed the entire scene. One of the 3 journalists held a white flag. Miller was shining a light on the flag, and a 3rd journalist held up her British passport. There was no shooting, and the area was quiet, as the audio track of the film clearly proves. The 3 had walked about 60 feet toward an Israeli armed personnel carrier to request safe passage to leave the area when the first shot was fired. We're a British journalist, said Saira Shah, cried out into the darkness. Then comes the second shot, which killed James, Sweeney wrote. It was shot in the front of his neck. The bullet was Israeli issue, fired according to a forensic expert from less than 200 meters, 600 feet away. The IDF maintains that Miller was shot during crossfire, although no shooting is heard on the APTN tape apart from the 2 shots fired from the Israeli military vehicle. When the APTN tape was shown to an Israeli soldier who was shown in the film, he said the television team did not look like Islamic terrorists and concluded, that's murder. By the way, in the week just past, the Israeli courts have said that Rachel Corrie was responsible for her own death and dismissed the lawsuit, and therefore the family that was only seeking $1 in damages, but they were denied. The Israeli government takes no responsibility for what happened, and of course that's to be expected. Just like they didn't take any responsibility for the 1967 attack on the USS Liberty, a U.S. Navy intelligence ship that was attacked by the Israeli Air Force and the Israeli Navy, and the ship was destroyed, and 34 American sailors were killed, and the Israeli government never paid any compensation to the American families for what happened, and it was a deliberate attack. They attacked the USS Liberty, hoping to blame Israel and drag America into the Six-Day War of 1967. And the American government, President Johnson, did not take the Israeli government to task for this, and President Bush, George W. Bush, did not say anything in protest for the bulldozing of Rachel Corrie back in March of 2002. So I guess we know who rules the United States, who runs the United States. Need I say more? What are you going to do about it?